what do we need? We need some sort of a framework. So I've got 5 points for you that I've called our succession framework. The first one is around business readiness. So how ready is the business and can it be run without you? So think of it like this. If I turned up no, I'm not going to do this, but if I turned up tomorrow and you asked me to run your business for you, would I be able to work out what was going on pretty quickly and things would be able to keep going? Or would it be the other end of the spectrum? Only you can answer that, but there's some of the sorts of things that you need to think about. So how transferable really is your business is point one. What about the opportunity? We were just talking about someone who didn't have multiple pathways. Have you thought about what your options might be, even if it's a long way in the future? Done some sort of scenario planning. What's your best option? What's your worst option? What do you want to happen? Some sort of plan around that. Because if you've got options, that creates leverage for you, even if it's a long way down the track. What about timing? So market timing. So if you're a mining services company in Kalgoorlie and you service the gold mining industry and the gold price was just at an all-time high, it's back a bit now, what does that mean for your business? How well are you going? So if you're heading down this path, is timing around that important to you? What happens if gold goes to $2,500 an ounce? What's that going to do to your business? It's not investment advice, but I don't think it is. But what does that mean? And what about the maturity of your business? Are you a mature business that's growing organically at 5 to 7% a year, etc.? Or are you a high growth business that's growing at 25% a year? Where are you in your own business cycle? And from a personal perspective, what's your personal readiness? So if you're in your mid-60s, you're maybe likely to be more ready than someone in their mid-40s. So there's some aspects to think about from a timing and a personal timing, a market timing and a personal timing perspective. My line at the bottom, the best exit is when preparation meets opportunity. I mentioned before, one of my clients had an opportunity to exit part of their business. They could only do that because they were organised. And they're only 40, right? So they're not ready to get out, but they were organised. And they'd thought about this and they'd had a plan. And the market conditions one was the key driver for that decision, because it's probably at the top of the market, he was able to take some money off the table. Everyone's happy. Financial readiness. Now this is interesting. What's your number? Has anyone thought about this? Put your hand up if you've thought about what your number would be. Ollie?
3 mil.
Oh, no, you don't need to tell me, but okay.
Sold.
I'll give you $50. No, seriously, so people have thought about their number? Yeah, okay, so a few have, that's great. So if you know what your number is, you're starting to think about what your plan might look like. But what about your net number? The taxman's going to have his hand out for whatever happens. So what's your tax position? Get some specialist advice on that because it can be really complex. So know what your net number is. And also, don't forget about any debts that are in there as well. Because if you are out and you don't have your business anymore, you might need to pay some debts back as well. What about capital versus income? Do you know what I'm talking about there? So if you've got a business, you're drawing the income, however you're taking it, don't care. Now, that's funding your lifestyle. So if you were to sell your business for $1 million, okay, that sounds all right. Ollie wants 3, but I can't work that out of my head, so I'll stick with $1 million. And you invested that and you got a 7.5% return on it, you're getting $75,000 a year as an income. Yep. But if your business is paying you $100,000 a year, can you afford to live on the difference? Now, there's also a finance term, it talks about compounding return. It's the rule of 72. Is anyone that doesn't work with me heard about that? No? What it is basically the rule of 72 gives you a number of how quickly your capital is going to double. So if you take 72 and divide it by an interest rate of 7.2%, compounding, your capital will double every 10 years. You with me? Some blank looks. Yep. So if you were to invest and earn 9%, it would be 7 and a bit. If you invested at 5%, it's going to be double. Yeah? Very rough rule of thumb, but that's how you work it out. So what does that look like for you? So if you've got your $1 million in the bank, but you're drawing an income on it of $75,000 a year, you're not compounding, you're taking the money out. So are you going to have to eat into your capital at some stage? Not right or wrong, but these are the sorts of things to think about. So go back to your top number. Make sure you get your top number right. One that doesn't get talked about much until sometimes it's too late is the structure of a transaction. So what I mean by that, we saw one recently. Someone had an offer on their business for $5 million. So a bit more than yours, Ollie. There's something very different to you as well. $5 million, you go, that sounds all right. But the deal structure was $1.5 million up front and then an earn out on the rest over 3 years. So this person would have been out of their business, nothing to do with it, controlled by the new people, and he's on an earn out that he can't control. No, no.